The International Safety Management Code, adopted in May 1994, is designed to ensure the safe management and operation of merchant shipping and to prevent marine pollution. Flag states are required to ensure that all vessels comply with the code. The independent audit of ship owners' safety management systems is a vital step in achieving compliance and certification.
Okay, well, I look forward to seeing you on the Tuesday, sir, and thank you very much indeed. Right, goodbye.
All ships in a fleet and their shore-based offices require separate certification under the ISM code. The process begins with the receipt of a request for services and the auditor's preparations. Documentation is prepared and a set of relevant auditor's notes compiled, ready for the first stage. A visit to the office and a meeting with the company's DPA, designated person ashore, who must have access to the highest levels of management.
Well, Captain Hill, as you know, I'm here to audit your company's office against the requirements of the ISM code.
Right.
Now, as designated person, you're a key player in the safety management system, and I'd like to talk to you about your role in this respect.
Right.
And firstly, perhaps we can get the documents together that I may need to have recourse to look at.
One of the things the auditor is looking for is evidence of the company's monitoring of the safety and pollution prevention aspects of the vessel's operation, the shoreside elements of the safety management system. Are there procedures in place for reporting accidents and defects? Is there a feedback system, procedures for internal auditing and non-conformance reporting? Responsibilities and procedures should be clearly defined and documented.
Can I just ask you about the procedure you have in place for reporting accidents and defects?
Yeah, well, that's quite clearly laid down under section 7, this page.
Okay. Firstly, responsibilities. Who's responsible for reporting?
The master.
Master, right.
Having ensured that the shoreside office complies with the code and an effective SMS is in place, the next step is to schedule a ship visit. The time available for audit may be short, depending on the ship's program. First impressions can be important in establishing a feel for the way the vessel is operated and maintained. Simple things, like the way the gangway is rigged and the condition of the ship's side, will help to determine how the audit might proceed. The poet and journalist Rudyard Kipling had the assistance of what he called 6 loyal serving men to help him. They were who and what and where, when and why and how. The auditor will need all these, and 2 more, what if, and show me, to remind him of what he needs to know.
Good morning, gentlemen. Before we go into the details of today's visit, I'd just like to make the point that I'm not here to conduct a technical inspection. I'm only concerned with the management aspects of the vessel's operation. The audit that
The first task after arriving on board will be to brief the ship's officers, agree the day's itinerary and timings, and determine which members of the crew will be involved. In addition to individuals from the various departments, the ship should also provide a guide, where possible, to act as liaison and as a witness during the audit.
I would like to set the closing meeting for 4:15.
Yes, 4:15 will be fine.
Fine, thank you very much indeed.
Following this opening meeting, a tour of the ship will provide a snapshot of the effectiveness of the onboard system and an impression of the ship's husbandry. We're looking for evidence of a safety culture. Any structural or equipment defects should be noted for further investigation. They should have been dealt with under the company's defect or non-conformance reporting procedures. During the tour, remember to examine areas such as the firefighting lockers. Is the equipment in good condition? Who maintains it? Who knows how to use it?
Reid from Lloyd's Register of Shipping.
I'm John. I'm 12 to 4 watchkeeper.
John, I'm just doing an audit of the safety management system on board the vessel here. And if I can just take a couple of moments of your time just to ask you a few questions.
Right.
Take the opportunity to talk to crew members during the tour. Test their knowledge of equipment and procedures, and note their names. Their training records can be checked later.
The gauges here normally read usually 50.
Okay.
And that's the intention of the lever back.
Right, John. Well, thanks very much indeed for your time. Most appreciated.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thanks.
Right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
A quick check of the notice boards around the ship can reveal how much effort is being made to educate and inform the crew on the company's safety and environmental procedures. Many of the vessel procedures will be initiated from the bridge. An overview of the layout here and in the chart room, and a check of the information on view, will provide an important indication of the state of the management system. In the control room, one person should normally be on watch. And here again, the auditor is looking for evidence that procedures are available for key tasks and are being followed.
Perhaps I could start with looking at the procedures for bunkering operations. Can you show me how you would conduct a bunkering operation using your developed checklists?
Yes, the technical standing orders for the fleet lay down procedures and checklists for bunkering operations.
Okay.
Sitting here.
So this procedure refers you to a checklist which you then complete
Yes,
for
that's
each
correct.
operation. Now, I understand you've just bunkered recently in the last
Yes, we just
couple of
bunkered
hours.
this morning, yes.
Could I just have a look at the checklist that you used during that operation? Is it
Yes.
available?
Yep. It's over here. It's the bunkering file. And this was this morning's checklist.
Okay. Bill, could you just outline to me the method of communication between the ship and the bunker barge?
Well, we discussed with them the method of communications. They normally keep a man in the bunker station, and we test the communications by sound-powered phone and talk back. And we also have a man in the bunker station during all the bunkering operation with a siren. So that in the event of an emergency, or if he gets told to stop the bunkering, he just sounds a siren, and the bunker barge are then aware that they must stop immediately.
Can we just have a look at the operations you actually conduct?
The officers and crew manning the various departments of the ship should be able to display a sound knowledge of procedures. If they can't, the reason why must be investigated. Are they a new joiner? Have they had the appropriate training? Have any steps been taken to remedy their lack of knowledge? Remember, too, that the audit isn't just a matter of verifying the crew's knowledge of documented procedures. Implementation of those procedures must be checked by reviewing records.
Third engineer, is that? Yes.
Yes.
Shut down freshwater evaporator.
Evaporator shut down here.
Okay. Commercial diesel generator, lube oil purifier.
This is here under the alternator status.
Okay. Auxiliary boiler flashed up on auto.
Auxiliary boiler on auto. There.
Garbage disposal and pollution prevention have been the subject of an increasing level of international legislation. Galleys and mess rooms are places where specific management controls may be required. Cargo operation is another area where specific management controls may be required. The auditor should be reviewing the capabilities of the crew, checking that those involved in cargo handling are properly dressed and observing safe working practices, as required by the company and the various rules and regulations. Are the correct signals being displayed? Is the ship alongside and moored properly? Vessels carrying hazardous cargoes in bulk, including gas, chemicals and oil, require special handling procedures and equipment. Particular attention has to be paid to stability, trim and stress monitoring. Pollution control checks covering the environment within the vessel as well as the surrounding area are especially important. Do the loading and discharge procedures contain proper provision for safety and pollution control, stability and hull stress? Are those procedures being followed?
John, can you show me the procedures applicable to the cargo discharge in this particular port?
Yes. These are the company standing instructions which give the responsibility for all officers involved in the discharge and also give the requirements and the company's expectations for the discharge.
Okay. I'd just like you to talk me through the cargo discharge sequence here. And if we start at complete discharge instructions in cargo logbook, if you can just show me that cargo logbook first.
This is the rough cargo logbook which I fill in before the discharge. It has all the instructions for my junior officers, showing the tank layout and where the various cargoes are, and also the instructions for the discharge, including all the valve numbers on deck.
Okay, and this is your signature?
And that's my signature down the bottom, yes.
John, can you just further explain to me label manifold cargo grades?
Yes, just before arrival on the berth, I will put out on the various manifolds the product boards which tell the shoreside which manifold I want to use for the discharge of the individual grades.
Now I'd like to just turn to the ship shore safety checklist, if you can just describe the filling of it in and where it is.
We have two safety checklists we fill in. One from the shore, which is a piece of paper, and one which we keep on board on the bulkhead behind you.
Okay.
We carry two MSA 40s, which are explosimeters. They measure the lower explosive limit of gas concentrations in a given area. We have an oxygen analyzer for obviously measuring the percentage oxygen within a given atmosphere. We have Draeger tubes, which again measure the percentage of explosive or noxious gases on board. We also have an Exotox 60, which is a device which measures both oxygen and the lower explosive limit of an explosive atmosphere. We calibrate it once a year. We put it ashore to an accredited shore testing station, and they calibrate it, test it, and refit any parts which are necessary to be done. And we are issued a certificate once a year by that.
And you can show me those certificates?
We can certainly show you those certificates.
Okay,
yes.
I will be having a look at those.
Certainly. We also, within the year, our safety maintenance officer will maintain and check and test using our own equipment all the various pieces of gear on board.
And do you have instruction books that details the
Yes, all the instruction manuals given by the makers are on board the ship for personnel to refer to.
Okay, thanks. John, can you explain your procedure for entering enclosed spaces, such as a cargo tank, after cleaning?
Most important is checking using the gas detection and oxygen detection equipment. We would then issue a permit to entry form, and ventilation will be carried out throughout.
Okay.
We would then make an entry and have manpower stood by on the top of the tank with rescue equipment available.
Have you got a completed permit to work?
Yes, we have several here.
Passenger ships have a complete tier of staff with safety-critical jobs, responsible for looking after the passengers in an emergency. Do they have a good command of the language? Are they aware of their responsibilities and the emergency procedures?
Mariano, can you explain to me your duties in the event of an emergency occurring on board with regard to what you would do to assist the passengers?
I hear the 7 short and 1 long, and then I just come to my cabin, all my cabins, on my sections, and then evacuate the passengers and tell them to go there.
By observing the vessel at work and by talking to members of the crew during a short tour, the auditor can gather information which will form the basis of more detailed questions on the ship's management system and its operational requirements. These questions will be put to selected members of the ship's staff during a series of interviews. Those who should be interviewed will include the master, representatives of the deck department, including the chief officer, representatives of the engineering department, including the chief engineer, and any appropriate specialized personnel. The purpose of these interviews is to verify the implementation of the ship's management system, not to test the technical knowledge of individuals. It may be necessary to revisit different areas of the ship to verify information. Note the name and rank of each officer interviewed and check their certification.
Let's just assume the scenario of the vessel sailing 1900 tonight. Can you just talk me through the checklist as it is?
Yes, certainly, yes. We start off with the more basic checks. Start stations tape. We keep a dictaphone tape of what we do as we work through the checklist for...
Offer your interviewee an event or situation. Compare his description with the company's written procedures. How closely do they tally?
Can we just have a look at the chart for departure?
Yes, Southampton here. This is the one for departure, drawn up for departure by the navigator after arrival this morning.
When checking chart entries, remember to check the chart itself. Has it been corrected to date?
Keith, can you now show me the last set of entries that were made in your deck logbook?
Yes, certainly, yes. This is the logbook here.
I'm very interested in one.
Examine the ship's log and verify some of the last set of entries.
Entries that are made with regard to us coming to standby below, which is for embarking the pilot,
Okay.
and then the run up through the Solent.
Okay.
Ask to see the relevant publications and supplements and check that all are up to date. Is there a valid deviation card for the compass? Has the compass been checked, and if so, how often? Examine the ship's plans, the deck layouts and fire control plans. Have the originals been dated and duly authorized? Although the content of these interviews will differ with each department, the basic structure remains the same. The auditor is seeking to establish that properly constituted procedures are in place governing the vessel's operation. He is also verifying that ship staff are familiar with these procedures and are competent to discharge their assigned responsibilities. Audit notes provide a useful aide-memoire. Auditors can't be expected to know the details of every operation. But guard against making the audit a document check. It's essential to verify that procedures are being put into practice. The auditor's findings should be reported in accordance with Lloyd's Register's audit procedures. Non-conformity notes must clearly state the extent of any problems to ensure that practical corrective action is taken.
The audit was conducted against the requirements of the International Safety Management Code. It's covered all the aspects of the code, however, it's only looked at a representative sample of your system. Thus,
on completion of the audit, all findings should be reported to the master and all available senior officers. If there are any problems, the master should be in no doubt about the nature and extent of them before the auditor leaves the ship.
Your own company procedure number SMCD 9, issue 2, requires course and manoeuvring records to be kept as enclosures to the logbook. However, in actual practice, no such records have been kept since the 31st of October 1994. So I could now ask you, Captain, to sign your agreement of the statement made here.
The ISM code can only be effective if it is applied in a consistent and proper manner. Lloyd's Register continues to play a leading role in ensuring the safety of life at sea.